Soft power is good and useful and even necessary, but the great irreducible feature of warfare is hard power, and we have to be good at it.
In a world where hard power is a reality, General Christopher Cavoli stands as a beacon of strength and unity.
Unity comes from discussion. Unity comes from transparency. Unity comes from candor. It comes from us all recognizing that our commonalities are greater than our differences.
Leading with a vision of collaboration.
We are very lucky to be at this point in history with such a collection of like-minded nations working together.
And a commitment to defend our values.
We will need to stand to our future, our children's future, the future that we've always designed.
General Cavoli is a true leader, shaping the world we live in.
It's our future. We have to create it.
Please welcome General John Abizaid.
It's great to see you. I have the great honor of introducing to you General Chris Cavoli. Now, Cavoli and I have known each other for a long time. That's very difficult for him to imagine what I'm going to say. But it's all right. Relax, Chris. But before we do that, I really want all the veterans of the United States Armed Forces and our allied nations in NATO to stand up and be recognized. Thank you. It's great to have veterans in the audience. I first met Chris when he was a lieutenant of infantry when I assumed command of the 3rd Battalion, 325th Airborne Battalion Combat Team in Vicenza, Italy. In a battalion packed with the most talented junior officers in our Army, most of whom were top West Point graduates, Chris distinguished himself as a skilled leader and superb trainer. A Princeton graduate, he was well known for his famous undergraduate thesis entitled "The Effect of Earthworms on the Vertical Distribution of Slime Molds in the Soil." As you can imagine, this work held him in good stead with the sergeants of the U.S. Army Ranger School. However, Chris demonstrated his true genius by marrying Christina Dacey, a smart, dynamic leader in her own right. These two professionals not only built wonderful careers together, they also built an Army family that traveled the world and had 2 sons who exhibit the great talents of both their parents. Chris's career is filled with remarkable achievements. A master's degree in Russian studies at Yale, a foreign area officer who speaks Italian, Russian, and French. He personifies our nation's commitment to the Atlantic Alliance. Not only does he understand the complexities of our most dangerous adversary, but he knows how to fight and win. As a general, he reformed the doctrine and structure of the alliance to reflect the realities of modern warfare, and he ably assists our Ukrainian friends in their difficult struggle against Russian aggression. He, along with his partners, have forged a formidable alliance. While his accomplishments of a general officer are great, I also honor him for his combat leadership. I can remember visiting his infantry battalion in one of the most restive, dangerous provinces of Afghanistan. There, he led tough, disciplined American soldiers of the 10th Mountain Division, while at the same time building professional confidence and competence of his Afghan allies. Here was a fit, dedicated, charismatic young colonel serving in one of the most isolated, dangerous places on earth, and it was clear he held the respect of all. His leadership is marked by courage, both on and off the battlefield, by professional competence, second to none, and by a remarkable common sense, often not seen. Many officers aspire to high command, but too few understand that being a war fighter means forging a team that must be able to fight and win tomorrow. It's been remarkable to know Chris all these years. He was the best lieutenant I ever knew, the best lieutenant colonel I ever knew, and the best general I know. In Chris Cavoli, our nation has built a gifted soldier, statesman, and leader. Thank God for his leadership at this dangerous time in our history. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this remarkable soldier.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Way too many to mention you all. What a gathering. Thank you all. I'm very deeply humbled to stand before you tonight, mostly because I recognize that this honor is really not about me. It's really about the defenders of 32 nations, the men, women, and families of the United States and our NATO allies who tirelessly stand guard to secure our freedoms. And I thank them for that in front of you tonight. General Abizaid, thank you for the far too kind introduction. Thank you for reminding everybody why I became an infantry officer, because I was not a biologist. Thank you for your leadership and your inspiration. Since I met you when I was a young lieutenant, there is no one I have wanted to emulate more. I'm so lucky to have you and Kathy here tonight. To the Atlantic Council, thank you for this award. Your dedication to transatlantic cooperation is exemplary, and it contributes to the peace and prosperity that we have come to enjoy. My fellow honorees, it's a privilege to share the stage with you. Your accomplishments remind us that security requires a full commitment from across all elements of society, from everyone. So thank you. We salute you. Finally, to my family, my wife, my brothers Jim and Steve, my parents, I think they provide a fitting backdrop to this evening. You see, my dad was born and raised in Italy. He lived there without his own dad throughout the war, the Second World War. Afterwards, he came to America. He became an officer. He married my mom, who is from the exact same small town in the Dolomites of northern Italy. We're working with a very shallow gene pool here. He served a career devoted to our country and to the transatlantic alliance. My brothers and I grew up as Army brats, as you have heard, Kansas, Texas, so forth, but also Germany and Italy. And my own sons, not here tonight, unfortunately, out in California, grew up the same way, in an Army family, living abroad, living the alliance, because our alliance is so much more than simply a promise of collective defense. It's a promise of a wonderful future. It's a promise of a future based on shared values of liberty, freedom, and democracy. It's the promise that 12 nations made to each other 75 years ago this year. Standing amid the ruination of the Second World War, 12 nations banded together, and they declared never again. For 75 years, we have held that line. An attack on one would be an attack on all. And so there was not an attack on anyone. There has been peace. It hasn't been easy. We've been tested, we've been tried, but we have always come through, always. And we have together produced a world that was at peace and growing and prosperous. But today, dark clouds gather on the horizon. The specter of war once again hangs over the European continent and indeed the world. Russia's ruthless, unprovoked, senseless war in Ukraine stands as yet another, as the latest test to our alliance and to the globe. And so NATO does what it does. It rises again to its mission. We are reinvigorating our system of collective defense. We have developed and approved plans to defend every square inch of our alliance. Nations are racing to resource those plans. Nations have raised their defense spending dramatically in the past 2 years. Our exercise program demonstrates our readiness, and we are learning and modernizing at the speed of innovation that we see in the war in Ukraine. We are stronger today than ever. It is fantastic, unexpected, and yet it's not unexpected. It's what we do. We have always banded together. For 75 years, we have spotted the key problems, organized against them, and then faced them down. And we are doing that again. NATO is now stronger, it's more united, it's more determined, it is bigger than I have ever seen. These are truly historic times, ladies and gentlemen. History doesn't always come easy, doesn't always flow nicely, and this is one of those times. An adversary has threatened us, and we respond, but our response is historic. It's such a privilege for me to be part of that response. It's such a privilege to be part of that response. And it's a privilege to be here tonight, receiving this award on behalf of the brave men and women of our alliance. God bless you all. Thank you very much.